The monsters of Western horror cinema are those for which Christians are responsible. Maybe they're the monsters we deserve.
Well, the future of the church and the future of Perkins are mutually intertwined, right?
But it's also a season of rethinking what it means to be the United Methodist Church.
This is Pod Strangely Warmed, a place where we tell the good Methodist story, where we have conversations that invite followers of Jesus to seek after that loving, just, and free world that God imagines for us all, and have a little fun along the way. Hi, and welcome to Pod Strangely Warmed. I'm Daniel Hawkins, your host today, and I'm excited to be joined by the Dean of Perkins School of Theology. Dean Stone, thank you so much for taking time to be here with us today.
I'm happy to be here. It's great.
It's a great chance to be together and almost a kind of a continuation of some welcome back to North Texas. You've got roots here in North Texas, and you spent some time away, but then are now back at Perkins School of Theology. How many days on the job is it now?
Well, it's 5 months, just over 5 months. How many days is that? So roughly
Well,
150. I'm way past the 100 mark, which is where you're supposed to have accomplished everything already.
Right. Those first 100 days matter.
Right,
and everybody,
exactly.
You get a report card at the end of it and all of that, right? Well, we're glad that you're here today. Thank you so much for taking time. We're going to get to what's going on at Perkins. We're going to get to a little bit of your academic research and history and the ways that speaks into this specific moment in the life of the church. But we want to begin by just getting to know you, right? So many folks across the Horizon Texas Conference haven't had a chance to get to know you yet. And so part of the way we do that here on Pod Strangely Warmed is we invite folks to bring their self on a shelf, and you've taken up 2 shelves today, and we are really pumped about that. If you want to pick one of the items you've brought and tell us why it speaks to who you are.
Well, it's hard to figure out what to do when you asked for that. But this thing here is I don't even know what you call it, kind of a window box, I guess. And a friend made it for me, I think on my 50th birthday. So it's a little outdated, but it has some of the most important things to me. Pink Floyd at the center. If you want to know who I am, you got to love Pink Floyd music. So that's part of it. My love of Juan Luis Segundo, theologian I did my dissertation on. A little picture of John Wesley, which is who is probably my favorite theologian, my dad. And a lot of skeletons in school. So that's part of the Dia de los Muertos kind of theme. But it also reflects my love of horror movies. So that's what's going on there. So it's a little about me all in one place that someone else did for me. I probably need to update it.
What this tells me is you also have good friends.
Right?
Because I'm thinking about my friends. When I turn 50, they're not going to make me something that actually speaks to the soul of who I am. They're going to make fun of me in some form or fashion.
Yeah, Dr. Xochitl Alviso, who's in California now, made that.
Very good. Very good. That is fantastic. And I think it does point us a little bit to the breadth of who you are, right? And that intersection of academia and horror cinema and family and this Wesleyan tradition that deeply roots us, and some good music along the way too. Yeah. What else did you bring for us?
Well, my new book, Christianity and Horror Cinema, which I worked on for probably the last 10 years, and it just came out this summer. So we have time, we can come back and talk about that.
Sure.
I'm fascinated with scary movies, and I did a full study of it over the last decade.
Okay, we can come back to it, but I want to spend a couple of seconds here with it.
Sure.
Give us the 30,000-foot summary. I mean, I know you've got a couple hundred pages there, but what was it about horror cinema and the Christian experience that both caught your attention and the intersections you see there?
Initially it was just how many Christian symbols and themes are pervasive in horror movies. But when you begin studying it deeper, what really the thesis of the book is that the monsters of Western horror cinema are those for which Christians are responsible. Maybe they're the monsters we deserve. So if we have anxieties about the body or women or nature, which Christians do over the centuries, those all come back to us in form of monsters. They prey on it. And so I kind of dig deep on different genres like ghosts, witches, demons, nature horror, zombies, psychological horror, and trace some of the Christian roots in terms of the way Christianity has shaped Western civilization.
That sounds really fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Kind of like
it's amazing.
Our collective Christian culture has shaped the psychology that makes those moments scary for us in
absolutely.
horror film.
And a good example would be nature horror. We have hundreds and hundreds of movies in the West on how animals are coming back to get us, whether it's piranhas,
Okay.
Jaws,
Yeah.
birds. But in Asian cinema, you can maybe name those on one hand. They just don't produce them. And you could trace that to our alienation from nature in the West. There's some Christian responsibility for that. We're the crown of creation. We're here to dominate, and that's a really bad translation of Genesis. But
right, yeah, dominion doesn't mean dominate,
but that's the way it has played out.
Right,
and it's just not that way in Eastern cultures. Nature is much more symbiotic. They're not scared of nature the way we are.
That is fascinating, right?
It is fascinating.
Because any snake-related moment in a movie is going to get me every time, right? It's one of those things, and there's a clear scriptural. We can tie back to the snake there, but at the same time, it's fascinating. I'm sure that as you launched into that research project, right? You said you spent the better part of a decade on it. You had some kind of assumptions and some places of beginning to say, this is why I want to explore this work. What was the most interesting thing that you discovered in the process that you didn't think about coming in?
Well, I think the depth of Christian influence. I was thinking of it more topically or thematically and symbolically. But the more I studied it, the more I saw the cultural underpinnings and religious underpinnings. But I'll even go further and say aesthetic underpinnings, because religious systems are not just ideas. They're also artwork and the way we think about things. It's kind of our own cognition, not just ideas, but our approach to things. And in the West, that's substantively different from Eastern cultures, and Christianity is why. We are, for 2,000 years, shaped by Christianity in the West. And there's no question that you would stand to reason that it would shape our popular culture in various, not explicit ways, but I wanted to trace those out.
Well, it's funny, you talk about the way faith shapes culture. So my brother is a big wrestling guy, right? WWE is his jam. It's his thing. And so like one of the things we do once a year, it's my only wrestling connected thing for the year, but we go when it's here in Dallas. But one of the things that strikes me again and again is the language that they use, like the hyperbole they use, the language they use to describe, and then like the ways they build in like acts of liturgy, right? The music hits and then everybody does the same thing. Like, there's so much that's connected and rooted to what I first experienced in faith. Right.
There's so much in culture like that, whether it's sports, which there's a whole liturgy. I mean, even seasons of the year. I mean,
In sports and culture, I mean, we're gonna take a rabbit trail for just a second, but think about the American Airlines Center, right? It hosts two primary sports teams, the Mavericks and the Stars. Both have developed a liturgy connected to the national anthem, right? What happens at the Stars game whenever people sing the national anthem? When you get to the word stars, everybody hollers it instead of singing it, right? You get to that moment.
I haven't experienced that yet, but I'm going to have to do it.
You're going to have to now that you're back in Dallas full time. And now that the Mavericks have Cooper Flag, right? They do the same thing every time Flag comes in. So those kind of call and response ideas that kind of shared the work of the people, right?
Yep.
That has its roots here in the West, in our faith traditions and our faith expressions. That is really cool. So I hope you do check out those two things.
I will.
If folks wanted to encounter your book in a more deep way, where could they encounter it?
Well, they can get it on Amazon. I mean, it's a very expensive book, $190 on hardback, but they have it in ebook, and they'll do a paperback later on. But yeah, they can take a look at it online.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Are there any other places online where you've kind of done teaching or anything like that connected to that work?
Well, more and more it's happening, especially October was very big for me.
Okay,
I've
for
done
sure.
podcasts, I've done interviews. So we did I did a KERA Chris Boyd's Think episode on which released on Halloween. If people want to listen to that podcast for an hour or less, I think it is, but they can get a real good summary of the book. And she asked me a lot of questions. She read that thing thoroughly. I'm amazed.
That's fantastic.
She had it all marked up and everything.
Well, very good.
She's a good interviewer. You are too.
Well, I am not at her level, but that is really good.
That's probably the best place to start.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure we link to that so that folks, if they want to dive more deeply into that, can do that.
Yeah.
And then give $190 for the book. You are now, you said a minute ago, in month 5 at Perkins. This is not your first exposure to SMU, right? You did your doctoral work at SMU. Is that correct?
I did. I was raised Nazarene, and when I got done with Nazarene Theological Seminary, during my studies in my MDiv at NTS, I became fascinated with Wesleyan theology, process theology, and liberation theology. And the person I wanted to study with was Schubert Ogden here at SMU. So I applied only at one place to get a PhD. I got accepted. The rest is history. I came here in 1985, 40 years ago.
Very good, very good. How was the experience walking on campus the first time versus walking on campus the first day as the dean? Compare and contrast those two for me.
Well, I actually haven't thought about that until you asked that, but they were both very enchanted moments. I mean, the first time you're coming into a major university, I did an undergrad at a very small liberal arts college. I'd never really been on a major university like SMU, and the buildings are intimidating.
Sure, SMU is an impressive campus to walk on, absolutely.
And you just felt like you were in the halls of higher learning and the kind of the culture there of education that I had not really been around. Coming back as dean, it was a little more. I mean, it's even more so because now you're in charge of this thing. Okay,
yeah,
so I mean,
yeah.
and everything from the facilities to the faculty to how we spend money there and how we raise money. So it felt, but not like in a heavy way, like oh my gosh, I've got all this care I'm carrying around. Just excitement. So there's both times real heavy excitement, but from a totally different perspective, each time.
Tell me a little bit about some of that excitement right now, because SMU is in a season of transition, not just at Perkins, but across the university. And the sense I got from other fellow alumni that there is a moment of positivity, a moment of kind of hope and imagination that's happening right now. Tell me a little bit about what is happening right now at Perkins and what new things are happening across campus.
This is a time of momentum, I would say, for SMU, and it rubs off on me and Perkins too. We have a new president, a new provost. Just those two things alone reshape the entire culture of a university. We have a new athletics director. We have 3 new deans. Well, 2, but one will be decided this year. So that'll be another dean. And so there's just a lot. Actually, 3 new deans plus a 4th one will be coming on. So
oh wow, okay.
So out of 8, and there's 8 deans. So that's almost half, and in all the top leadership, well, the very top slots, and of course the athletics. And we're also in a time of strategic planning for the next decade. So all of that coming together, there's a lot of momentum, a lot of talk about what we should be doing, a lot of reevaluation of old systems and old ways of doing things, which gives permission and pause and space for really doing some new creative thinking. And we're up for it. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
The new president and provost are fantastic. Having joined the ACC conference last year and done so well, there's just that spirit on campus of comes with a big athletic program.
Yeah,
and we're actually doing pretty good this year too. So that rubs off. I think we saw applications spike after that first year throughout the university. So I mean, we spent a lot of money on athletics there, but it's kind of like a big average marketing budget, because it just increases your name brand.
So I did my undergrad at Baylor, and then did my master's at Perkins at SMU, and it definitely is a thing when sports are thriving.
Yeah.
It's good for the whole institution, and
so
while it can feel like it's the entertainment on the side, it has positive net effects.
It does.
In a pretty profound way. Talk to me about this season of new beginnings at Perkins specifically.
So there are challenges and opportunities that come with that new season, because we're in a new season precisely post United Methodist changes that have happened, the schism and the disaffiliations. That means we're now at a place where we're kind of past those things, and now where we go forward. That's exciting, but it's a huge challenge when you've lost a third of the potential United Methodist students you might be able to get.
Right.
And that comes with a huge drop in funding from the United Methodist Church as it gets smaller. So those are the big challenges. But it's also a season of rethinking what it means to be the United Methodist Church. Mm-hmm. We're doing that in a way that's very committed to the social principles of the United Methodist Church. That's about social justice. That's about full inclusion. But we're also doing it in a way at Perkins that's very ecumenical. So one of the best things we have going, for example, is a Baptist House of Studies. I knew it was there when I was coming, but I didn't realize how robust it is. I mean, there are a lot of Baptists in Texas.
There are.
But these are the kinds of Baptists who are a little bit more progressive.
Right.
Certainly, for example, they're going to not only permit but encourage women to be preachers. Not all Baptists will do that. And our school, of course, is committed to that for a long time. More likely
to be American Baptist than Southern Baptist.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting, and I think there are other cooperative kind of ecumenical ventures we can do. I'm very concerned, and I think that we all are, to expand our preparation to more vocations than just clergy preparation. That's got to be the center for us, the clergy preparation. But increasing numbers of people are wanting to do other kinds of things in ministry and not be going into ecclesial type ministry. For example, chaplaincy.
Right.
Chaplaincy is really on the upswing in terms of people feeling called to do it. They want to minister, they want to do pastoral care, but they're not necessarily wanting to be pastors in a church or leading a church.
Yeah.
The chaplaincy provides that more pluralistic environment that's less about institutional management and more about getting directly in touch with people. We're seeing a lot of people interested in that. So we're kind of gearing that direction. We're also making huge strides in becoming, I think, some people will say eventually is the place in the world to do Methodist studies.
Okay.
I mean, even outside, even in England, we have the Global Methodist Museum. We have amazing archives at Bridwell Library, and now we're going to be getting the General Church's archives from Drew will be coming to Dallas, and those are unbelievable. And not only if you combine that with our Methodist faculty, this is the place. Anyone who wants to come study Methodism should come to Dallas.
Very good, very good. And it sounds, in some ways, so our default audience here on PSW is kind of Methodist nerds from across the Horizon Texas Conference.
I'm
right?
perfect for that.
So yeah, you are synced up right up here. But it also sounds, I think, as you were sharing the journey of Perkins and the university in this season, kind of post-disaffiliation, post-denominational struggle where there is new opportunity, there is new possibility, there is kind of a renewed unity, but there are resource constraints, and many of our churches experience that kind of 1/3 drop, either in their local church or within their broader community. I think a lot of folks will resonate with the experience you have, even if it's showing up differently in their community.
Also, we just made a move to, we've been doing hybrid education for quite a while in Houston and Galveston.
Yeah.
But this last year, we implemented a new hybrid model where there's more online education. So we're really in the online space more than we used to. That's great in terms of accessibility of theological education, but it also creates some challenges in maintaining a really robust residential population that you're used to, that I was used to when I went to seminary. It's much smaller on campus now, and we got to keep that vital. So that's a major concern to me.
Well, and on campus, at least from my personal experience, it was in those relationships and those conversations that you learned a lot in the reading, you learned a lot in the lecture, but it kind of stuck different when you could sit with folks and have conversation and help me unpack this and let's talk through this. And you can do that online, right?
You can.
But it comes, at least for my generation, I'm 41, so I'm old now, but it comes more naturally in a residential program, right? And so
it does. There's a kind of formation that happens there in interpersonal interactions. Not only trying to keep that happening, but also to find ways to make it happen online. That's the key for us. Those two things.
Very good. Yeah. I'm excited to see what happens over the next 5 years at Perkins as y'all begin to work through and find that way forward.
I'm trying to raise extra scholarship. We already do really good right now for scholarshiping people, way up above 90% on the average. But I also want to get scholarships to help people move to Dallas. Because they sometimes think, well, I'll just stay wherever I am. I'm in Shreveport. I can do it from there. But if they can find a way, and if it's just a little bit of extra money they could use to help them move here, then I want to make that happen. There are things you can't get online, which are access to the rest of the university's resources.
Right.
Cross-listing in other courses on the university. There's so many rich things you can access, but you're not going to be able to get those online. You're still going to get a great theological education, but you may not be able to do other kinds of things like a certificate in dispute resolution at Simmons College, or work with Meadows School of the Arts in doing music and that kind of thing. So some things you can't do, a lot you still can.
Why would we need dispute resolution in the church? I have no idea why that would be a necessary skill.
Well, good Christians would never need that.
Never need that. Never need it at all.
But there are some bad Christians, and that's why.
Well, mostly, good Christians care deeply, and when people care deeply, sometimes those deep cares
actually those
can be
are the
at
worst
ends.
Kind because they don't want to deal with a conflict. They think that there shouldn't be conflict, so there's a lot of conflict avoidance.
Right.
But conflict transformation, it's really what it should be called, is transforming conflict, thinking about it in new ways, not trying to just get rid of it.
Right.
But how do you properly deal with conflict? You don't just go home and pray about it. You got to. There's
face to face.
There are skills to be learned.
There's a reason why Jesus tells us first go face to face.
Right. There's steps. Right. Exactly.
Because it's not a simple thing.
Yeah.
But if the relationship matters, it's worth going through the discomfort of this moment.
That's right. We're also launching a dual degree with social work. We don't have a school of social work, but we're using UT Arlington. So UTA has a huge social work program, and we're going to do a dual degree with them where you get an MDiv with us and an MSW with them, and you can do those things together.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. How long in residence is the MDiv program these days?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, 3. And we have an MAM, a Master of Arts in Ministry. It's 2 years.
Okay. Sounds like exciting times and some real possibilities as you go forward, and an opportunity for a creative spirit to come out.
It is all of that. We also, we have had 4 retirements of faculty last year, 3 this year. So it's a real season of change within our faculty, and thinking about what kind of faculty we need for the 21st century is uppermost in our minds.
Yeah.
But a lot of creative energy can come out in those moments.
That possibility is really powerful. Tell us a little bit about, you've done a lot of work in evangelism and in meeting folks in non-traditional spaces before coming into the dean role. It seems like that kind of creativity of spirit is not just something that will serve you well in the dean role, but it's also something that the church needs in this season. Give us a little bit of some of that history and background.
I've been teaching evangelism at Boston University for 27 years, and I got the job. And when I got the job, I was not really interested in evangelism in kind of the old classical form, maybe just kind of buttonholing people on the street and asking them if they die tonight, will they go to heaven? I was more interested
Thanks be to God.
Right? Well, and I even in seminary, I did not want to take the evangelism course. I just was repellent to me. But I wanted to work on a kind of a more theologically robust understanding of evangelism, and one that's more connected with culture. So I've always been very interested in theology of culture, pop culture. That's why I think I'm drawn to film, not just horror film, but film more generally, and other forms of pop culture. And when I was doing my PhD at SMU, I was also planting a church and an urban ministry in Fort Worth called Liberation Community. It's over in the Texas Wesleyan area, Fort Worth, the Poly area. My wife and I moved there. We pastored for 7 years there. And I learned a lot about engaging culture and communities. It wasn't just about, trying to lob the gospel over at people, but to really embed yourself in a community and understand it, be a part of it, advocate for its needs socially, whatever, politically. And the evangelism is all tied up in that. It's not just simply coming to believe something. It is really being transformed. And so I worked for 27 years to try to get to teach that in a way that I felt comfortable with, and that I thought would be appealing to United Methodists, who have a very holistic sense of salvation. And it's not just about believing or where you end up after you die, but the quality of your life and how committed discipleship is. So it's just been a blast. For me, then, evangelism is very much engaged with culture. It's also very congregationally based. I think that evangelism is not just leading people to an experience of Christ or to a belief in Christ, but to a new way of life that is a corporate, that's ecclesial. So the church is at the center of this thing. And I think the best way to do evangelism is to create and help nurture thriving, vital congregations. So I put a lot of my energy into the way we do new churches, the way we do existing churches. Did a lot of church congregational studies during that time, led a lot of my PhD students and other master students in studying congregations. And that's, for me, important now, too, because congregational partnerships are what's going to make Perkins thrive. I want to be in dialogue and in conversation with what's really going on in congregations.
As you did that research, acknowledging that, the church has gone through some pretty substantial shifts and changes, even just in the last 3 years, right? This podcast came birthed out of that season of disaffiliation, right? And the impact on our churches is something we're still coming to fully understand. But as you encourage congregations and study them, what are some of those hallmarks of vitality that do help cultivate that holistic experience of the gospel in the communities we seek to know and serve?
First, I'll say that coming to Dallas, one of the major differences I've experienced is the vitality of congregations here. I mean, I've made it a pact. My wife and I made a pact to the first 6 months we were going to go and visit as many congregations as we could. Part of it's a church hunting thing, but that's not really what it was. He really was just trying to get the lay of the land. And churches down here are really vital and exciting and energetic. Maybe it's just the ones I've been to, but there hadn't been a dud in the mix.
That's great.
And so but it's not just the numbers of people in the pews. There's a vitality in the preaching. I think timely and urgent and connected preaching is central to the vitality of congregations. I don't think it all revolves around the pastor or preacher, but if there's not really good worship and preaching, probably not a very vital congregation. And congregations here give a lot of attention to that, and pastors give a lot of attention to it. I've heard some great sermons since I've been here. Then there's I think the quality of discipleship programs. Or not, I don't even like the word program. I shouldn't even have gone to that word. But that discipleship is happening in a variety of ways that are contextually relevant. It could be just providing opportunities for new unchurched people to meet church people, whether it's like a Mother's Day out or a Bible study or youth group. Those things have to be in place in order for discipleship to be happening, people to coming in and to also be nurtured. So if I don't see those kinds of things happening, then I think there's work to be done. What else would I say as far as the vitality? I don't think it's not easy to measure vitality.
Sure. Yeah.
The dashboards that a lot of district superintendents and bishops use to measure are not necessarily the ones that how much giving and how much attendance. But if you can quantify, I think there's a sense in which there's an ownership by the people of the church and not just a top down. That there's really an organic leadership approach.
That energy, that vitality, that spirit that you talk about is so hard to put a number to.
Yeah, it is.
Right? And the numbers exist to try to help us do that, right? What's the trend line? What's the trajectory? All of that. But some of those are lead metrics and some of those are lag metrics, right?
Yeah.
And it really can shift and change over time.
Social ministry, social outreach, it's hard to measure, but if a church is not engaged in its community, I think that's not a sign of vitality.
The community should miss us if we disappear
Right,
tomorrow.
they should at least know who you are. I mean, they should miss you if you're not there.
I think it's a really important dynamic, and I look forward to seeing how Perkins and congregations partner going forward.
Yeah, we just started June 1, same date I started a Fresh Expressions House of Study. Now, a lot of Methodists know what that is, but it's a institute really focused on how we can do church new ways in our time.
And is Michael Beck leading that?
That's
for
right,
Perkins?
Michael Beck's
very good, very good. We're hopeful to have him on.
He'll be here
spring,
next week.
So,
yeah, well, you should get him. Yeah, you'd love that.
Fresh expressions are one of those things that I think, especially here in Texas, our history and our culture of like church planting and new places for new people has always carried with it like an organizational pressure and a weight, and it's got to be the next First Richardson or the next, there's this kind of gigantic institution thing you're supposed to build, where the beauty of some Fresh Expressions is you're building communities where gospel transforms lives.
You got it exactly right. It could be a pub. It could be a tattoo parlor.
Right.
It's amazing what they're doing, and we hope it really makes a difference in our campus.
I think it has a chance to do really well. As you sit at Perkins today, for generations, one of the concerns was, are we having enough young people come into ministry, and what are the generational dynamics of our pastors? What is kind of the student population? What trends are you seeing at Perkins in terms of second career folks, first career folks?
Yeah, well, it's exciting to see our students come in, and they're fantastic, but it's not a good sign for where Methodism is right now because they tend to trend older.
Okay.
We like the older students. They bring life experience to theological education, which I think kind of is the right way to do it in some ways, rather than doing it and then you dump them out into the world. They come back and they're able to do that integrative stuff. But it does mean that the people we're seeing preparing for ministry tend to be trending older. And we, unfortunately, Perkins can't really shape that. That's got to be the churches who who send us people and cultivate the call among youth. So my challenge to the Horizon Annual Conference is to really put front and center the cultivation of the call in young people. That's just got to happen. Not so that we can continue to exist as an institution, but for the church to be what it is, it's got to have new leadership coming up.
Well, the future of the church and the future of Perkins are mutually intertwined, right?
That's the point. Yeah.
And I love, you mentioned it, and we hadn't really had a chance to really dive into it much, but the partnership with UTA, right? UTA is one of our thriving Wesley foundations here in the Horizon Texas Conference, and UTA, that Wesley Foundation, is sending a number of folks each year into the consideration of ministry and into theological education. And so if we're building a partnership already, that's one of those places where it can amplify some existing work that's already in place.
Yeah, so you're leaning against one of my top priorities, which is cultivating relationships with undergrad institutions, whether it's Texas Wesleyan or whether it's Southwestern or McMurray and Abilene. We're trying to develop especially accelerated degree programs where you can do your BA in religion at that college and then start your MDiv with us, so that rather than 4 years there and 3 years with us, we can collapse those into 6 years. But it also will mean us getting in touch with these undergrad populations better. Our own SMU, we're not really tapping into SMU undergrads the way we should be. So I'm excited about the possibilities there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
I love that. And that future-focused orientation that serves Perkins, that serves the church, and that I think will help shape the future in a really powerful way.
Yeah.
Dean Stone, thank you so much for being with us today. As we close, we often invite folks to say, if somebody heard nothing else today, what do you want to make sure that they hear?
I think that Perkins is interested in the future of theology in new ways. We want all God's people to be prophets, and that means that it's not just a few people. So we want to expand what theological education is so that more people see themselves in it, whether they're lay people or whether they're clergy, whether they're preparing for a pastorate or whether for the chaplaincy, that this is a place to do theology. I would love it if 1/4 of our student body were lay people, just interested in studying theology and understanding it and doing it in new ways, not just repeating old patterns, but thinking about it, and especially thinking about it in connection with the lived communities and congregations where we are.
I love that. That's a powerful vision, and we're excited to see where Perkins goes under your leadership and with the new community of leaders across the university there at SMU.
Thank you.
Dean Stone, thank you for being here today. Before we go, you mentioned Pink Floyd. We began with Pink Floyd. What's the one song people got to go listen to if there happen to be good Methodist nerds who are either needing to reacquaint themselves with Pink Floyd or maybe acquaint themselves for the first time?
Picking your favorite child that you love the most is definitely.
Oh, okay.
But look, everybody has to listen to Comfortably Numb, and the guitar solo is arguably in the top 5 guitar solos of all time. So get Comfortably Numb on. Don't get your speakers on your headphones. Your headphones on, so that you can just really devote yourself. And when that solo comes on, just bask in it.
Okay, perfect. Dean Stone, thank you so much for being here. And thank you for being with us on Pod Strangely Warmed. Until next time, I'm Daniel Hawkins. This has been Pod Strangely Warmed. If you enjoyed our conversation today, know that you can find us anywhere you find podcasts. On Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, any and all the places, we are there. So if you want to continue the good United Methodist conversation that you've been a part of today, find us, like us, rate us, review us, and share with a friend so that the good news that is happening right here in our own midst can amplify even more.
Good,
From a copyright standpoint, can we clip 10 seconds of that and throw it in there? Or, what's the copyright situation?
I don't know. I'll have to look into that.
Okay. Because I know there's a certain amount you can,
There probably is.
that you could use.